Attachment conflicts is they send you to other things too, like demoralization and German infantry assault penalty. But the attachment conflicts is if you have multiple armies in there. I don't believe I do. I think this is all attached because it's all in their hex, in their thing, and I don't see anything trying to hide. So, what things do we have here? Well, we look for column shifts, and we have defender terrain. We're looking at a minor river, which we've got to find. That's one shift to the left. Now I'm looking at 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is not 2 to 1, so it's going to be the +4 table. A shift to the left puts me down to the 1-2 table. Okay. We have to worry about cav superiority. The French have no cav, but that doesn't mean that the Germans have, the Prussians have cav superiority with their 1. I believe it's 1 die. Yep, 1 die. So the Prussians just have a +1 to their cav superiority. Okay, they have gotten cav superiority. That gives them something. That gives them a die roll modifier. So we're up to +3 total because of the cav superiority. And let's make sure we're accounting for everything here because we don't have the status penalty here. The French player will get +2 to their dice. Yep. Okay. Let's keep looking. We have this. All right, we have a divisional leader's tactical rating. We don't have a divisional. All valid corps leaders' tactical ratings. All right, so the French were 4th Corps. I think this guy has a +1 tactical rating. So that brings me up to a +3. All corps count. Well, we only have this one, which is the 7th Corps. Don't worry about the army yet. He has nothing. Okay. And again, this probably becomes second nature. Our quality is all good enough that we don't have to worry about that. I have the opportunity as the Prussians. We were here. We shifted 1 for terrain, right? I don't know. We lost why we shifted 2. We were at +4. We lost 1 for something or another. Terrain. And I think that's all. Okay. So we should be on this column. I should mark that with something other than the thing. Okay. We have to worry about rerolls. The army. Okay, the army commander looks like he sucks. He gives me -1 reroll. So that means the French are going to get a reroll. We'll put that here to try to remember that. I don't think I want to expend a cav or cav losses to get an extra column shift. So I think we've got everything set here. We look at the sizes. Again, they're 9 to 5. Those are both going to be medium-sized forces. And we roll the dice. And unfortunately, the die rolls are only on 1 column there. So I lost where I was. I think I'm on the 3 to 1 table. Because I had to move so I could read this. All right. And the French roll a 7 + 3 is 10. So they are hitting the attacker. And that'll be a D2. Whereas the Germans are 4 plus 3 is 7. You'll have to excuse me for calling them German. They are German. That's a D2. Now, this is the trick of the die rerolls. The French could roll better. If they roll 2 higher, a 9, they get a D3 result. But from my knowledge of the Civil War game, demoralizations are really bad. And what I'd like to do is remove my demoralization. That doesn't look possible. It looks to me like no matter what, I'm going to be demoralized. Could my result get much worse? My roll is, or the German roll is pretty decent for the French. I'm probably not going to get better than that off one reroll. Am I going to get worse if I reroll? So chances are I'm going to get worse more likely than better. So I'm going to discard my reroll and not use it. Which means we're each going to take a D2. Because the Prussians didn't use the Cav advantage to lose extra troops, this is all going to come off of our infantry. Which means our French corps here, which is what? I think it's this guy, loses 2. And I got to get 2 more strength points here. So we've lost 3 strength points total. And the Prussians lose 2. And I got to figure out where those come from. 7th Corps. You know, honestly, I'd rather take it from the Army because the Corps is more of a mobile forward force, I guess. There doesn't seem to be any balancing restriction there. Okay. So now we get to check for leader casualties. And gee, we're almost at an hour at this point, which means, you know, after we get through this first pulse, I may have to break this video into 2 if U-turd hasn't fixed itself. A couple of demoralization counters, just to remember each side's taken 1 demoralization. And I found my leader loss table. So the first thing is the Prussians, as the attacker, roll a couple of dice on here. And the larger force was only 9 strength points before casualties. It's after casualties that you roll, so maybe it's supposed to be after. Either way, it's a small force according to this, so I need a 2 for any chance of casualties. There are none. And then we don't have to go through the whole process. Casualties are less likely here than in the Civil War. Now we go to battle impact. It was not an overrun. We eliminate things and we see what else we might have to learn. Let's try to find an empty space on the board so we can look up that rule. 13, oh fuck me. 13. Yeah, it's not fun learning new systems. They're burdensome and, you know. Okay. Each player is going to roll on the battle impact table. Okay. We find that. Alright, we got to find the modifiers for this. Here they are. Okay. So the French get a +1 for their tactical rating for their leader. We had terrain. Whoop. Which was a minor river, if we can find that. That's going to be a -1 for the attacker, +1 for the defender. That goes up to +2. 6 cumulative, okay. That's the hex side, actually. Concentric attack, no. Artillery effects. Okay. 0 to -5. Alright, I don't know what those are. Artillery effects. It's per unit lost, right? Yeah. So that's going to be a -1 to their die roll. That brings them down to a 1. No reserves, no frontiers. So the French are at +1. The Germans, did they have a core tactical rating? I don't think so, but let's see again. They had leader 7. No, he doesn't provide one. Where's this number up here? Ruh-roh. I mean, it's 1 on all of them. Yeah, I gotta look and see what the hell that is. What is it? Oh, that's the game turn it comes in. Okay. That's why it's 1 on all of them. Oh, all right. So, and we don't take casualties except from artillery into effect here. All right. So for the Prussians, they get a -1 for their leader reroll capability. Great. And they get a -1 for the terrain that they crossed. Yeah, this isn't good. They got no artillery fire effects. And so now it's +1 for the French. We're supposed to roll 1 before the other. I'm not sure it matters. But I seem to... Each player rolls. I don't think it really matters. Alright. So the French are at +1. The Prussians at -2. So the French get a 10. Which is if they lose the combat and must retreat, they can... retreat through zones of influence without taking extra steps, and they can go up to 3 extra hexes. If they're the victor, they can pursue 3 additional hexes. On the other hand, we don't know who the victor is yet. This is at -2. This is a 6. If you lose the combat and must retreat, you may retreat through enemy zones of influence without incurring extra step losses. All right, well, who won? Control. That's leader casualty. We have the demoralizations. All right, let's see who won. Neither side's eliminated. Neither used a Calv death ride. Neither suffered any. Neither side, yeah, they suffered SP losses. Both sides are demoralized. Whoever took the lowest demoralizations, they have the same. No. If both sides are not demoralized or demoralized to an equal amount, the side that lost the fewer SPs is the victor. That's the Prussians. When you count the artillery fire in. Which means the defender is going to have to retreat from this hex. Now, retreat doesn't trigger any reactions, so we get to push them out of there, and then the Prussians get to continue their move. I'm going to bail out and handle that retreat. I don't think it's too exciting, but I haven't decided where I'm retreating to. I think I have to try to, yeah, I have to try to go away from the attacker, not just, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to head down this way, for example. Okay, so the French retreated their 3 additional hexes because it gets them further with their demoralized force. The Prussians don't want to advance, they're demoralized, and they'd also be getting themselves out of their supply range if they're not careful. I really need to take this hex and move the rail line forward in that way and kind of turn the flank there. Unfortunately, there's bad terrain everywhere, but that's life, right? So, I still have a couple extra movement points. I choose not to move my cavalry into the demoralized hex, and I think they're the only ones who had extra movement points to play with, which means now I have 3 more impulse points to play with, and I gotta think about what those might be. For the remainder, and by the way, I checked U-turd and it's still broken, whatever. For the remainder activity, I want to activate just an army with no attachments. That cost me 1 CP, but 2 IPs. And I'm going to spend it off my primary because I don't like where that is. That's here. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to rally this. And now I've got 1 IP left. Can I do anything valuable with 1 IP? Well, I can enter a strength point, which seems like a good move. So I'm going to enter an infantry strength point, and I'm in... No, I'm not going to... That's the wrong direction. See, they got that facing the player up there. So I'll enter an infantry strength point, and I'll put that in here because I'm still in movement supply, so I can do that. And that gets us to the end of the line for the first initiative die roll. That's it for tonight, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to play this because unlike there's just so much more going on in each impulse. So unlike the Victory Games game, it's not a nice little look. I'm going to get to spend 3 or 4 impulse points. That means I can pretty much move 1 unit or do 1 thing in each impulse. Instead, because of the clouds, because of all kind of coordination and everything, it's a much bigger burden. How much better a representation is it? Well, it allows the game to have a lot more pieces on the map, to look like it's more detailed simulation, and it really is. There's no question that what it's zooming into in the army effects is almost on the scale of, instead of Victory Games' game, instead of their Civil War game, it's almost more like the Lee versus Grant type situation, or perhaps the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War, which I haven't gotten to yet. It's more detailed than I want in a strategic representation, but on the other hand, this is a lot less territory. Think about the size of France as compared to the size and scale that's covered in the American Civil War, and you begin to see why they've blown up to that detail. I'm not sure. I think I would feel, if it was really the same system and with that level of abstraction, I think I would probably feel kind of let down with what it produced. This, on the other hand, may be too much for me. All right, let's send this up, and yeah, it's going to be in 2 parts. I don't know where I'm going to put the divide yet.